The perfume bottle shattered against the wall, spraying jasmine and rage across the gilded ballroom. Penelope Hartley stood trembling in her borrowed gown, staring at the masked man who'd just removed his disguise, and whispered the words that would destroy everything. "You're the Duke of Ashmont." Sebastian Rothwell, London's most desired bachelor, the man every mother pushed their daughter to. The face on every scandal sheet, stood frozen as the precious scent dripped down his ancestral portraits. His impossible boutonniere of midnight jasmine, damask roses, and orange blossoms wilted against his chest. Every flower he'd ever sent her in letters. Every secret moment of their correspondence, now dying against black silk. "Penelope, please let me explain." "Don't," her voice cracked. "Don't you dare say my name like you know me. Because the man I knew, the man who wrote me letters, who understood loneliness, that man doesn't exist. Not anymore. But we're getting ahead of ourselves." This story begins 3 months earlier, in a shabby perfume shop in Clerkenwell, where Penelope was about to receive the first letter that would change everything. If that opening gave you chills, do me a quick favor and smash that like button. And if you love epic Regency romances with secret identities, forbidden love, and scandalous revelations, subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a story like this. Trust me, this one's going to break your heart and put it back together again. Now, let's go back to where it all began. The morning light struggled through the grimy windows of Hartley and daughter, casting sad shadows across empty shelves. Penelope stood behind the counter, grinding orris root with a mortar and pestle, trying not to calculate how many days remained before the creditors came. 14 days. Maybe 12 if Mr. Blackwood felt particularly vicious. The bell above the door chimed, but no customer entered. Penelope looked up to see nothing. Just the morning fog creeping across the threshold. She returned to her grinding, assuming wind, until she noticed it, a cream envelope on the worn doormat, sealed with black wax and an unfamiliar crest. There was no address, no postmark. Her hands trembled as she broke the seal. The paper released a scent that stopped her heart. Night-blooming jasmine, impossibly rich, impossibly rare. Especially when it was March in England as it was. The handwriting was masculine, yet elegant. "Miss Hartley, forgive the intrusion, but I have a proposition. Where do forgotten queens sleep beneath glass, dreaming of summer sun? Solve this, and find the first ingredient for your masterpiece. Signed, your constant gardener." Penelope read it 3 times. A prank. But the jasmine scent was real, clinging to the paper like expensive promise. And that riddle. Forgotten queens beneath glass. She paced the empty shop, her mind racing through London's geography. The Tower. No. Westminster. Too obvious. Her brows scrunched as she fell deeper and deeper in thought. Until finally it came to her. The Orangery. She gasped with wide eyes. The abandoned orangery at Kew Gardens. 20 minutes later, she was running through Kew's gates, her skirts muddied, her hair escaping its pins. The old orangery loomed ahead, its glass panels cracked and clouded, housing trees that had outlived their royal admirers. Orange trees, queens of citrus, sleeping beneath glass. She searched frantically, looking for anything unusual. There, beneath a loose stone near the oldest tree, she found it, a small wooden box. Inside, a vial of pure jasmine, and another letter. "Brilliant girl. I knew you'd solve it. This jasmine is from grass, where perfumers are poets, and poets are gods. Your mother once told me she dreamed of training there. I thought perhaps her daughter shares that dream. The next riddle comes tomorrow. Until then, create something beautiful. You have the talent London hasn't yet recognized. But I see you. Signed, YCG." Penelope sat among the orange trees, holding a fortune in jasmine, and cried. Because whoever this person was, they'd known her mother. And they believed in her when London's entire perfume industry dismissed her as an untrained shopgirl playing at her dead mother's profession. She didn't know that across London, in the Duke of Ashmont's private study, Sebastian Rothwell was pressing his own copy of the letter to his chest, terrified and exhilarated. He'd watched her solve the riddle from behind an oak tree, had seen her face transform from confusion to wonder, and then to tears, and felt something in his chest crack open like spring ice. "Your Grace, Lady Cordelia Ashcroft is here for your morning appointment." His butler's voice cut through the moment. Sebastian shoved the letter into his desk drawer. "Tell her I'm indisposed." "But sir, she's brought her daughter." Again. Of course she had. Lady Cordelia had been hunting him for her vapid daughter Elizabeth for 3 seasons now. The thought of sitting through another hour of manufactured conversation, of pretending he didn't see the calculation behind every smile, made him want to ride for Scotland and never return. 5 minutes, he conceded. And Jenkins. No refreshments. Nothing that suggests they're welcome to stay. But Lady Cordelia had the survival instincts of a shark. She swept into his study in a cloud of over-applied rose perfume. Cheap, synthetic, suffocating. Sebastian's nose wrinkled involuntarily. Your Grace. How wonderful you look. Doesn't he look wonderful, Elizabeth? Elizabeth Ashcroft simpered on cue. Wonderfully wonderful indeed, mother. Sebastian wondered if anyone had ever taught the girl an original thought. Lady Cordelia, to what do I owe this unexpected pleasure? Oh, you're such a tease. We had an appointment to discuss the charity ball. Remember, you did agree to host it. Cordelia's eyes swept his study with predatory assessment, cataloguing everything, looking for leverage, for secrets, for anything she could use. Sebastian had agreed to no such thing, but arguing with Cordelia was like arguing with a tornado. You simply weathered it and rebuilt after. Of course. A ball. How charitable. For the orphans, Elizabeth added helpfully. Yes, darling, for the orphans. Cordelia waved dismissively at the imaginary children. Now, Your Grace, we simply must discuss the guest list. I was thinking intimate, perhaps only 300 of London's finest, and Elizabeth would be honored to help you receive guests, wouldn't you, darling? Elizabeth nodded so enthusiastically her ringlets bounced. Sebastian felt exhaustion seep into his bones. This was his life. This endless parade of social climbing mothers and their interchangeable daughters, none of whom saw him as anything but a title and a fortune. None of whom would ever ask what kept him awake at night, what he dreamed about, what made him feel alive. None of them would race through muddy gardens to solve a riddle. None of them would cry over Jasmine because it represented their dead mother's dreams. Lady Cordelia, he interrupted her seating chart monologue. I'll consider it, but I must insist you leave the details to my staff. I'm quite busy with estate matters. Cordelia's eyes narrowed. She hadn't survived 3 decades of society warfare without recognizing dismissal. Estate matters, you say? How fascinating. Nothing to do with that peculiar perfume shop in Clerkenwell, I suppose. Sebastian's blood froze. I beg your pardon. Just something I heard. That you've taken an interest in trade. It's so unlike you, Your Grace. Unless there's a particular reason for your interest. Her smile was poisonous sweetness. Perhaps a particular shopgirl. Sebastian hardened his voice immediately. My business investments are hardly suitable conversation for a morning call. His voice could have frosted the windows. Jenkins will show you out. After they left, Sebastian stood at his window, watching them climb into their carriage. Cordelia was already talking, her hands gesturing viciously. Whatever she'd heard, whatever she suspected, she'd weaponize it. That's what Cordelia did. He'd have to be more careful. Penelope couldn't know about his involvement in her shop's survival. Not yet. Not until he'd proven that her talent was real, and that his help was merely opening doors her genius would have opened anyway, given time and opportunity. He pulled out his private ledger, the one his man of business maintained separately from his public accounts. There, in careful script, every anonymous payment, the shop's rent, marked paid for 6 months. Her creditors, quietly bought out. The expensive ingredients, sourced from his contacts across Europe. The whispers in society drawing rooms about a brilliant new perfumer in Clerkenwell worth visiting. Was it manipulation? Perhaps. But Sebastian had been manipulated his entire life. By fortune hunters, by social climbers, even by his own godmother who saw him as a breeding stallion for continuing bloodlines. For once, he wanted to manipulate fate towards something beautiful. Towards someone who deserved every advantage his wealth could provide. That evening, Penelope worked late in her shop, the jasmine open on her workbench. She'd been experimenting for hours, trying to build something around it, something worthy of such a gift. But everything felt wrong, too heavy, too sweet, too obvious. Her mother's voice echoed in memory. Perfume is conversation, Ellie. It must ask questions, not just make statements. What question was Jasmine asking? Penelope closed her eyes, breathing deeply. And there, underneath the sweetness, something green and sharp. The smell of leaves, of midnight gardens, of secrets blooming in darkness. She needed contrast. Something to cut the sweetness. To add danger. Her hand hovered over her mother's legacy ingredients, the precious oils and absolutes collected over a lifetime. She searched frantically and pulled out a vial. Galbanum, green and bitter. And underneath, just a whisper of leather. Her hands moved instinctively, measuring and mixing, while letting intuition guide her. The scent evolved on her skin, jasmine sweetness undercut by green rebellion and dark leather mystery. It smelled like midnight gardens where forgotten queens plotted revolutions. It smelled like secrets worth keeping. The doorbell chimed and Penelope looked up, startled. The shop was closed, the sign turned. But a figure stood in her doorway, a young woman in an expensive pelisse, her face curious and kind. "Forgive me," the woman said, "but I saw your light burning and I simply had to investigate. I'm Charlotte Pemberton. I've heard whispers about a brilliant perfumer in Clerkenwell, and I wanted to see if the rumors were true." Penelope glanced at her stained apron, her messy workbench, the general chaos of creation. "I'm not sure I qualify as brilliant, Miss Pemberton. Just determined." Charlotte laughed. It was genuine, different from what Penelope was used to. "In my experience, determination is more valuable than brilliance. May I?" She gestured to the workbench. Something in her openness made Penelope nod. Charlotte approached, breathing deeply, and her eyes widened. "Good heavens, what is that exquisite smell? It's extraordinary. What is it?" "I don't know yet. I only started it tonight." "It smells like rebellion," Charlotte said softly. She looked at Penelope with sudden intensity. "I'll buy whatever you're making. Name your price." "It's not for sale. It's not even finished." "Then I'll commission you to finish it, for me. Please." Charlotte's voice held unexpected desperation. "I'm getting married in 3 months to a man I've never loved, and I want something that's mine. Something that reminds me I existed before I became someone's wife." Penelope understood that desperation in her bones. "All right," she agreed. "But I need time. And it won't smell like other perfumes. It won't be safe or polite as the scents most women carry." "Good," Charlotte said fiercely. "I'm so tired of safe and polite." After Charlotte left, with an outrageous deposit that would cover next month's rent, Penelope found the second letter slipped under her door. Her heart raced as she broke the seal. "My dear Miss Hartley, I watched you work tonight through your window. Forgive my intrusion, but I couldn't look away. You create the way composers write symphonies, completely absorbed, utterly fearless. Your next riddle: where do physicians learn death's secrets, but poets find life's mysteries? Come at midnight, when the moon is full. Trust me. Signed, YCG." Penelope pressed the letter to her chest. Someone was watching her, believed in her, and was leaving her breadcrumbs toward something she couldn't yet name but desperately wanted to find. She didn't notice the figure across the street, standing in shadows. Sebastian watched her silhouette in the window, watched her press his letter close, and felt desire and guilt war in his chest. He was falling in love with a woman who didn't know his name, who thought he was some mysterious benefactor instead of London's most pursued bachelor. The man every matchmaking mother wanted to trap, the man society columns speculated about endlessly. If she knew who he really was, she'd see only his title, only his fortune, only the cage that had trapped him since birth. So he'd remain her constant gardener. At least until he'd proven that her success was real, undeniable. At least until... "Your Grace." A voice from the shadows made him spin. Lady Cordelia stepped into the lamplight, her smile venomous triumph. How very interesting. London's most desired duke, lurking outside a perfume shop at midnight. Does little Miss Hartley know she's attracted such elevated attention? Or is this meant to be your delicious little secret? Sebastian's world tilted. Because the worst predator in London society had just discovered his most vulnerable truth, and Cordelia never let prey escape once she'd scented blood. Sebastian's mind raced through 1,000 calculations in seconds. Should he just deny everything? No, Cordelia had eyes like a hawk, she'd seen everything. Bribe her. She'd take the money and use the information anyway. Threaten her. It seemed like the best course of action, except she'd make him the villain in every drawing room from Mayfair to Westminster. "Lady Cordelia," he said carefully, "you mistake an evening walk for something scandalous. I enjoy taking a bit of air right before bed." "In Clerkenwell." Her laugh was glass-breaking. "Your Grace, I've watched you dodge debutantes for 3 seasons. I know desperation when I see it. And that girl in there. She's quite pretty, I suppose, if you like them smelling of trade and poverty." Something dangerous flickered in Sebastian's chest. Careful, madam. Or what? You'll cut me from society? Please do try. My connections run deeper than yours. I was currying favor long before you were born. She circled him like a shark scenting blood. Here's what's going to happen. You will attend my charity ball next month. You will dance with Elizabeth. You'll make a spectacle of courting her properly. And perhaps, I'll forget I ever saw you haunting this pathetic little shop. And if I refuse? Sebastian asked. Cordelia's smile widened. Then tomorrow's scandal sheets will feature a delightful story about the Duke of Ashmont's mysterious midnight visits to a common perfumer. Can you imagine what that would do to the poor girl's reputation? She'd be ruined before tea time. No respectable client would darken her door again. Though I'm sure certain other types of clients would suddenly find her very interesting indeed. The threat hung between them like poison gas. Sebastian knew exactly what she meant, the assumption that any woman associated with him in scandal must be his mistress. Penelope would be destroyed, her shop finished, her mother's legacy ground into gossip and innuendo. One ball, he said through clenched teeth. One dance. That's all you get. For now, Cordelia agreed sweetly. And your grace? Do keep away from that shop. Wouldn't want anyone else to notice your peculiar hobby. She swept away, leaving Sebastian standing in the darkness, his carefully constructed plan crumbling around him. He couldn't visit Penelope's shop now. Couldn't leave letters where Cordelia's spies might see. Couldn't do anything that might draw attention to the woman he was falling in love with. But he couldn't stop the treasure hunts either. Those letters were the only honest thing in his dishonest life. He just had to be more clever about it. 3 days later, Penelope stood at the gates of the Chelsea Physic Garden at midnight, her heart hammering against her ribs. The riddle had been clear, where physicians learn death secrets but poets find life's mysteries. This garden, where medicinal plants grew for research and healing, where poets came to contemplate mortality and beauty intertwined. The gates were locked, but a rope ladder hung invitingly over the wall. Penelope glanced around the empty street, hitched up her skirts, and climbed. She'd never broken into anywhere before. The thrill was intoxicating. Inside, the garden was transformed by moonlight into something ethereal. She followed a trail of white petals, night-blooming cereus, she realized, flowers that only opened after dark, to a small greenhouse at the garden's heart. Inside, covering every surface, were rare botanicals. Ylang-ylang from the Philippines, tuberose from India, cistus from Spain, ambergris from, well, she didn't want to think too hard about where ambergris came from. Each one labeled with a card in that now familiar handwriting, explaining their origin, the scent profile, and their emotional resonance. And in the center, a letter sealed in black wax. My dear Penelope, forgive my familiarity, but after watching your joy at discovery, formal address seems cruel. You're probably wondering why I'm doing this. The truth is I've been trapped in expectations my entire life. Every choice made for me, every path predetermined. But you create beauty from nothing. You're free in ways I'll never be. These letters, these gifts, are unfortunately selfish. Through your joy, I remember what freedom feels like. Create something magnificent. Not for profit, not for survival, but for the pure wild joy of creation. I'll ensure your shop survives. Just create. Signed, your devoted gardener, S. He'd signed it as S. Penelope traced the letter, this mysterious benefactor who claimed to be trapped while giving her freedom. Who was he? Some elderly scholar too frail for adventure? A reclusive botanist who'd lost the courage to live boldly? Although, whoever he was, his letters felt like oxygen after years of suffocation. She gathered the samples carefully, reverently. With these ingredients, she could create something absolutely transcendent. Something that would make London's perfume houses weep with envy. She didn't see the man watching from the shadows of the greenhouse, committing her silhouette to memory. Sebastian had hidden among the ferns, close enough to touch her but separated by glass and lies. He watched her press his letter to her chest yet again, and guilt nearly choked him. He should tell her. He should step forward and explain everything, his identity, feelings, and clumsy attempts to protect her shop. But then what? She'd see only the Duke, only the fortune and title. She'd doubt every success, wonder if any of her talent was real or just his manipulation. So he stayed hidden, loving her from the shadows, but hating himself a little more with each passing moment. The next morning, Penelope woke to find her shop's door marked with red paint. Whore! Someone had thrown stones through her window during the night. Glass littered the floor like malicious stars. Her hands shook as she tried to clean it. Who would do this? She'd lived quietly, bothered no one, offended no one. Tragic, isn't it? A voice like poisoned honey made her turn. Lady Cordelia Ashcroft stood in her doorway, surveying the damage with theatrical concern. When shops attract the wrong sort of attention, these kind of things happen. London can be so cruel to young women who forget their place. Penelope straightened slowly. I don't know you, madam. Lady Cordelia Ashcroft. And you're the little perfumer everyone's whispering about. How extraordinary that you've become so popular so quickly. One might almost think you had powerful friends. Her smile was a scalpel. Tell me, dear, has anyone particularly powerful taken an interest in your shop? Every instinct screamed danger. She was probably talking about the woman from the night before. I serve whoever walks through my door, my lady. Penelope said matter-of-factly. How democratic of you. But here's a word of advice from someone who's navigated society far longer than you've been alive. When powerful men show interest in common girls, it never ends well for the girls. You become a scandal, a cautionary tale, a ruined reputation. And I'm sure we wouldn't want that, would we? Penelope scrunched her brows in confusion. Powerful men? What was she talking about? I have no idea what you're implying. Cordelia leaned close, her expensive perfume cloying and aggressive. I'm implying that some people have friends who ensure their success. And those friends might lose interest if the people become inconvenient. Stay in your lane, perfumer. Serve your betters, take their money, and don't imagine yourself above your station. London tends to destroy girls who reach too high. She left Penelope shaking with rage and confusion. What was that about? Powerful friends. The only person helping her was her mysterious correspondent, and she didn't even know his identity. That evening, Charlotte Pemberton returned, saw the damaged window, and immediately called for a footman to repair it. While they worked, she sat with Penelope in the back room, holding her hand. Cordelia Ashcroft did this, Charlotte said flatly. Or had it done, which amounts to the same thing. She's been terrorizing women she perceives as threats for decades. But I'm a nobody. Why would I threaten her? Charlotte hesitated, then spoke carefully. There are rumors that someone powerful has taken an interest in your success. Cordelia has spies everywhere. She makes it her business to know everyone's secrets. If she thinks you're connected to someone she wants to control. She trailed off meaningfully. Penelope's stomach dropped. My constant gardener. The one leaving me the letters. She knows about him. Letters. Charlotte's eyes widened. Penelope, who's been writing you letters? So Penelope told her everything. The treasure hunts, the rare ingredients, the mysterious S who understood loneliness and believed in her talent. Charlotte listened with growing alarm. Penelope, this is either the most romantic thing I've ever heard or the most dangerous. Possibly both. She gripped Penelope's hands tightly. Whoever this man is, he's wealthy enough to source ingredients from around the world. He has access to private gardens and locked estates. And Cordelia is circling, which means she either knows who he is or is desperately trying to find out. You need to be careful. I don't even know how to contact him. He leaves letters. I follow riddles. We've never met. I don't even know how to contact him. He leaves letters. I follow riddles. We've never met. Maybe that's safest, Charlotte said quietly. Because if Cordelia finds out who he is, she'll use it to destroy you both. But it was already too late for safety. That night, another letter arrived, slipped under her door by invisible hands. Penelope opened it with trembling fingers. Penelope, I've heard about the vandalism. I'm sending men to repair your window properly and install locks that actually work. Please don't refuse this help. I can't bear knowing you're unprotected because of me. And yes, it is because of me. Someone has noticed my attention to your shop, and they're punishing you for it. I should stop. Disappear back into the shadows and let you build your success without my interference. But I'm too selfish, too addicted to these moments of connection with someone who sees the world as I do. Forgive me, S. Penelope read it 3 times, then did something reckless. She took out paper and ink and wrote a response, leaving it in the doorway where he'd left his letter. S. I don't care who's angry about our correspondence. I don't care what threats they make. Your letters are the only thing keeping me sane while I watch my mother's legacy crumble around me. Don't you dare disappear. Meet me. Let me see your face. Let me know your name. Let this be real instead of shadows and secrets. Please. P. She left it there and went to bed, her heart racing with fear and anticipation. Sebastian found her letter at dawn, having spent the night pacing his study, arguing with himself about ending this madness before Cordelia destroyed them both. But then he read Penelope's words, "Don't you dare disappear," and felt something in his chest crack wide open. She wanted to meet him, know him, make this real. But he couldn't. Not yet. Not when one scandal sheet headline could destroy her reputation forever. Not when Cordelia was watching, waiting for him to make a mistake she could weaponize. He wrote back immediately, his hand shaking. "You ask the impossible. I want nothing more than to stand before you, to have a conversation that isn't mediated by ink and paper. But the world I inhabit is vicious. If they knew about us, about these letters, these feelings, they'd tear you apart to punish me. I've watched it happen to others. Innocent women destroyed because they attracted the wrong man's attention. I won't do that to you. Not when your talent is finally being recognized. And especially not when you're building something beautiful. Let me help you from the shadows. Let me be your friend, your supporter, a gardener planting seeds for your success. But don't ask me to step into the light. Not yet. When your success is undeniable, when no one can claim it's because of me, then, perhaps, we can be more than letters. Until then, trust me, and forgive me. S." He left it at her door, then returned to his carriage feeling like he'd just sentenced himself to a prison of his own making. Penelope found his response and wanted to scream. Trust him. She didn't even know him. And what did he mean about the wrong man's attention? Was he married? A criminal? Someone whose association would ruin her? But then she looked around her shop, at the new ingredients transforming her workbench into a chemist's dream, at the repaired window, at the rent Mark paid, at Charlotte's commission and 3 others that had mysteriously arrived after Charlotte had apparently told all her wealthy friends about the brilliant perfumer in Clerkenwell. Someone was orchestrating her success. And she was tired of being a puppet dancing to invisible strings, no matter how benevolent the puppeteer claimed to be. So Penelope made a decision. She'd solve his riddles, take his ingredients, use his help. But she'd also investigate. She'd figure out who this S was, what cage trapped him, and why he was so determined to hide. And when she found him, they'd have a reckoning. She began her investigation the next morning, starting with a wax seal on his letters. The crest was unfamiliar, a phoenix rising from flames, surrounded by oak leaves. She sketched it carefully and took it to the one person she knew who understood the aristocracy's secret languages. Mr. Whitmore, the elderly stationer on her street. He examined her sketch through thick spectacles. His face went pale. "Where did you see this, Miss Hartley?" "On a letter. Why? What is it?" "My dear girl," he said slowly, "this is the private seal of the Duke of Ashmont. And if someone's using it to write you letters, you're either being courted by the most powerful bachelor in England, or someone's playing a very dangerous game with his identity." The world tilted. The Duke of Ashmont, London's most desired bachelor. The man every scandal sheet speculated about, every mother pushed their daughter toward. That Duke was writing her secret letters. It was impossible. It was insane. But unfortunately, it explained everything. The wealth to source rare ingredients. The access to private gardens. Cordelia's threats about powerful friends. Someone that elevated taking an interest in a common perfumer would be the scandal of the season. And he'd been hiding it from her. Lying to her. Pretending to be some sympathetic trapped soul when really he was the most privileged man in England, playing games with a shopgirl's heart. Penelope walked home in a daze, rage building with each step. By the time she reached her shop, she was ready to burn every letter he'd ever sent. Instead, she sat down and wrote the angriest response of her life, her hand shaking so hard the ink splattered. "Your Grace, how thoughtful of you to mention being trapped in expectations while sitting atop England's largest fortune and most influential title. How noble to claim you're protecting me while manipulating my entire life from the shadows. Did you buy my shop's debt too? Is my success entirely your creation? Tell me, when were you planning to reveal yourself, after I'd become so grateful for your charity that I'd overlook being treated like a musing project? Meet me at the Kew Orangery tomorrow at noon, or I burn every ingredient you've sent and tell London exactly what the Duke of Ashmont does for entertainment. Signed, Penelope Hartley, not your experiment." She left it in their usual place, then went inside and cried until she had no tears left. Because she'd started falling for him, for his words, his understanding, his loneliness that mirrored hers. And it had all been a lie. A powerful duke playing at sympathy while she'd been foolish enough to believe someone actually understood her. Sebastian found her letter at midnight and felt his world collapse. She knew. Somehow, she'd discovered his identity. And she was furious. He'd destroyed everything by trying to protect it. And now he had 12 hours to figure out how to explain himself to a woman who had every right to never forgive him. Sebastian arrived at the Kew Orangery an hour early, pacing between the forgotten queens sleeping beneath glass. He'd rehearsed 100 explanations, and they all sounded like excuses. Because that's what they were, excuses for deception, no matter how well-intentioned. At precisely noon, Penelope arrived. She wore her working dress, stained with oils and determination, and carried herself like she was marching into battle. When she saw him standing there in the dappled sunlight, her steps faltered only for a moment. "So it's true," she said, her voice cold as winter. "The Duke of Ashmont has been playing gardener." Sebastian had never felt less powerful in his life. "Penelope, please let me explain." "Explain what?" "That you've been manipulating my entire existence for months. That every success I thought I'd earned was actually your useless charity. That you've been lying to me in every single letter." Her voice cracked on the last word, and that crack destroyed him more than any rage could have. "I never lied about my feelings. Everything I wrote about loneliness, about being trapped, about seeing you and feeling something shift inside me, that was all true. You're the bloody Duke of Ashmont. You're the most desired bachelor in England. Every door in London opens for you. Don't you dare claim you're trapped when you have everything. Everything except freedom." The words exploded from him. "You think being desired by strangers who want my title is freedom? You think having every conversation calculated, every smile measured, every moment scrutinized by society is freedom? I haven't made a genuine choice since I was 8 years old and my father died, leaving me to become a duke before I understood what the word meant. Then why not tell me the truth? Why hide behind anonymous letters? Because the moment you knew who I was, you'd see only the title. You'd doubt every success, wonder if your talent was real or just my manipulation. And you'd be right to wonder, because I did buy your debt. I did ensure your rent was paid. I did whisper your name in society drawing rooms until people came to your shop." Penelope staggered back as if he'd struck her. "You bought my debt. The previous creditor was going to seize your shop in 3 days. I couldn't let that happen. So you bought me instead." Her laugh was broken glass. "At least Mr. Blackwood was honest about owning me." "I don't own you. I was trying to protect you." "I don't need protection. I needed a chance. A real chance to succeed or fail on my own merit. But you've made that impossible, haven't you? Because now I'll never know if I'm talented or just the Duke of Ashmont's entertaining project." Sebastian felt desperation claw at his throat. "Your talent is undeniable. The perfume you made for Charlotte, I had nothing to do with that. The way you understand scent, as well the way you layer complexity and emotion, that's all you, Penelope. I merely opened doors. You walked through them. Is that what you did? Or did you remove the doors entirely so I couldn't fail even if I tried?" She turned away, her shoulders shaking. "I thought you understood me. I thought someone finally saw me as something more than a poor shopgirl playing at her mother's profession. But you just saw a charity case. A project to make yourself feel noble while you're bored between society balls. That's not true. Isn't it? Then tell me, Your Grace, what happens when you get bored? When some other shopgirl catches your eye? When Cordelia Ashcroft or someone like her forces you to marry properly? Do I lose my shop? Does my magical success disappear as mysteriously as it arrived?" The question hung between them like a noose. Because Sebastian couldn't promise her forever. He would have to marry eventually, duty demanded it. And when he did, his Duchess would certainly not approve of his continued association with a perfumer in Clerkenwell. His silence was answer enough. "That's what I thought." Penelope's voice went flat. "Thank you for the ingredients, Your Grace. They'll make a magnificent perfume. I'll call it illusion, because that's what my success has been. A beautiful illusion created by a bored aristocrat." "Penelope, wait." But she was already walking away, and Sebastian stood frozen among the orange trees, watching his chance at something real disappear into London's grey morning. He didn't follow. What could he say that wouldn't sound like more manipulation? How could he prove his feelings were genuine when everything else had been orchestrated? So he let her go, and felt a part of himself die among the forgotten queens. Penelope made it 3 blocks before she had to stop, leaning against a wall, gasping for air through tears. Because the worst part wasn't his deception. The worst part was that she'd fallen in love with his letters, with his words, with the man who understood loneliness. And that man had been real. Sebastian Rothwell was trapped, just in a gilded cage instead of a shabby one. His loneliness was as genuine as hers. But he'd still lied, still manipulated, still made it impossible for her to trust any of her success. When she finally returned to her shop, she found Charlotte waiting, concern etched across her face. "I heard you met him," Charlotte said quietly. "The Duke. Your mysterious correspondent. How did you know?" "Penelope, I've known Sebastian Rothwell since we were children. When you described those letters, the botanical obsession, the understanding of loneliness, I suspected. He's been miserable for years, trapped by expectation and fortune hunters. And then suddenly, 3 months ago, he seemed different. Lighter, like he'd found something worth living for." She gripped Penelope's hands. "He's not playing games. He's terrible at romantic gestures, catastrophically bad at honesty, but his feelings are real. His feelings don't matter if I can't trust my own success." "Then prove it." Charlotte's eyes blazed with sudden intensity. "Create something magnificent without his ingredients, without his help. Show London, and yourself, that your talent is undeniable. And then decide what to do about the Duke who's been haunting your doorstep like a lovesick ghost." Penelope looked around her shop, at the expensive ingredients lining her shelves, every one a gift from Sebastian. At the success she couldn't fully claim. At the choice before her, give up and let his manipulation define her, or fight to prove herself despite it. "I need to start over," she said slowly. "I'll use only ingredients I bought myself, from suppliers who have no connection to him. Create something that's entirely mine. Then do it," Charlotte said with a grin. "And I'll be your first real client." For the next 2 weeks, Penelope worked like someone possessed. She sold most of Sebastian's expensive gifts to other perfumers, keeping only the knowledge she'd gained from studying them. She used the money to buy modest ingredients from modest suppliers, and set about creating a scent that would be undeniably, unmistakably hers. No jasmine from grass. No rare absolutes from around the world. Just English lavender, common roses, oak moss from the countryside, and one secret ingredient, the scent of paper and ink, recreated through careful chemistry. The smell of letters, of loneliness, of words that bridge unbridgeable distances. She called it correspondence. Meanwhile, Sebastian was falling apart. He attended Cordelia's charity ball as promised, danced with Elizabeth as required, and felt like a ghost haunting his own life. Every smile was mechanical, every conversation hollow. He'd tasted something real with Penelope, and now everything else felt like play acting. "Your Grace seems distracted," Cordelia purred during a waltz. "Not thinking about a certain shopgirl, I hope." "My thoughts are my own, madam. Aren't they? Not when they affect my daughter's prospects. You agreed to court Elizabeth properly. That means no more midnight visits to Clerkenwell. No more anonymous letters. No more embarrassing the Ashcroft name with your peculiar charity work." Sebastian's jaw clenched. "I've danced with your daughter. Our agreement is complete." "Oh, but it's not. You see, I've been very patient, very discreet about your little obsession. But if you don't start taking Elizabeth seriously, perhaps a few words in the right ears about the Duke's common mistress? Such a shame what scandal does to struggling businesses. She's not my mistress. Does London care about the truth?" Cordelia's smile was venomous victory. "Court my daughter properly, and your perfumer stays safe. Refuse, and I'll make sure every door in London closes to her. Choose wisely, Your Grace." Sebastian felt the cage slam shut around him. Because Cordelia never made idle threats. She destroyed bigger targets than one perfume shop. And if he refused, Penelope would pay the price for his selfish desire to be known and loved as something other than a duke. Before you decide what Sebastian should do, let me ask you something. Have you subscribed yet? Because this story gets even more intense, and you won't want to miss what happens when Penelope discovers Cordelia's threats. Hit that subscribe button and let's continue this emotional journey together. Don't forget to leave a like. Sebastian made his choice. He'd court Elizabeth Ashcroft. He'd play the role society demanded. And he'd never contact Penelope again. It was the only way to keep her safe from Cordelia's machinations. But he couldn't resist one final letter. He wrote it that night, sealed it with his phoenix crest, and had his most trusted footman deliver it at dawn. Penelope found it on her doorstep and almost threw it away unread. But curiosity, or maybe just the need for closure, made her break the seal. The handwriting was barely legible, as if written in anguish. Penelope, this is my last letter. Not because I want it to be, but because continuing puts you in danger I can't protect you from. Cordelia Ashcroft has threatened to destroy your reputation if I don't court her daughter properly. She'll ruin you to punish me. So I'm doing what I should have done from the beginning. I'm staying away. Your success, your shop, your future, they're yours now. I've instructed my man of business to transfer your debt back to you, marked paid in full. No strings. No obligation. You're finally free of me. I'm sorry for every lie, every manipulation, every moment I made you doubt your extraordinary talent. You deserve someone honest, someone free, someone who can love you openly without putting you at risk. I'm none of those things. But know this, in a life full of gilded cages and false smiles, you are the only real thing I've ever touched. Be magnificent, Penelope, and if possible, occasionally remember me with something other than hatred. Signed, Sebastian. Penelope read it 3 times, and each time her heart broke a little more, because she could hear the truth in his words now, the genuine pain, the real sacrifice. He was choosing duty over desire, protection over love, her safety over his happiness. And she was furious with him for it. Idiot, she whispered to the empty shop. Noble, self-sacrificing idiot. Because Sebastian was making the same mistake she'd been making, believing they had to face London's cruelty alone. Believing that protection meant distance. Believing that love required one person to sacrifice everything while the other remained safe. But real love, the kind her parents had shared, the kind that survived poverty and hardship and society's judgment, meant facing the storm together. So Penelope made a decision that was either brilliantly brave or catastrophically stupid. She'd finish correspondence, launch it publicly, and make sure everyone knew it was dedicated to someone who understood loneliness. She'd make Sebastian Rothwell see that she wasn't some fragile flower needing protection. She was a woman who'd survived her mother's death, her shop's near collapse, and London's casual cruelty. She could survive Cordelia Ashcroft too. Charlotte helped her plan the launch, a public exhibition at Charlotte's father's gallery, where London's elite would see Penelope's work properly for the first time. The invitations went out to everyone who mattered, prominent perfumers, society matrons, influential critics. And one invitation went to the Duke of Ashmont, with a personal note: "You don't get to decide if I'm too fragile for your world. Come see what I've created without your help. Then decide if I'm worth fighting for." P. Sebastian received the invitation while sitting through another excruciating tea with Elizabeth Ashcroft and her mother. Elizabeth was describing her plans for redecorating Ashmont House after their wedding, a wedding he'd never agreed to but somehow couldn't escape. He read Penelope's note under the table and felt something in his chest ignite. She was challenging him, daring him to choose her publicly, consequences be damned. "Your Grace, are you listening?" Cordelia's sharp voice cut through his thoughts. "Forgive me, I was distracted by an invitation. There's an exhibition I must attend next week." "Cancel it. You're taking Elizabeth to the opera that evening." "I'm afraid I can't. This is a matter of personal importance." Cordelia's eyes narrowed dangerously. "More important than courting my daughter. Have you forgotten our agreement?" "I haven't forgotten anything, Lady Cordelia. But I'm beginning to think agreements made under threat aren't really agreements at all." He stood, ignoring Elizabeth's gasp and Cordelia's furious protests, and walked out of the room feeling freer than he had in months. Because Penelope was right, he'd been protecting her by pushing her away, but really he'd just been afraid. Afraid of the scandal, afraid of society's judgment, afraid of being the cause of her ruin. But love required courage. And if Penelope was brave enough to challenge London society, the least he could do was stand beside her. The night of the exhibition arrived cold and clear. Charlotte's father's gallery was packed with London's most influential citizens, all curious about the mysterious perfumer who'd created such a sensation with Reverie. Penelope stood in the center of it all, wearing her mother's best dress carefully mended, her hair simply styled, looking terrified and magnificent. Around her, displayed on elegant pedestals, were bottles of correspondence, each one sealed with wax, each one telling a story of loneliness and connection. She began her presentation with a trembling voice that grew stronger with each word. "This perfume is about the power of honest communication. About 2 lonely people who found each other through words when the world kept them apart. It smells of paper and ink, of lavender that grows in English gardens, of roses anyone can afford. There's nothing exotic here, nothing rare or expensive. Just beauty created from common things by someone who refused to believe her circumstances defined her worth. The crowd listened, absolutely entranced. Charlotte squeezed her hand encouragingly. I created this without help, without patronage, using only ingredients I bought with money I earned. Because I needed to prove to myself that my talent was real. That I wasn't just someone's charitable project, but an artist in my own right. And then the gallery doors opened, and Sebastian Rothwell, Duke of Ashmont, walked in. The crowd parted like the Red Sea. Whispers erupted like wildfire. All because London's most desired bachelor had just publicly entered an exhibition dedicated to correspondence between lonely souls, and everyone suddenly understood exactly what they were witnessing. Sebastian walked straight to Penelope, ignoring every shocked face, every gasping matron, every calculating society climber. He stopped directly in front of her, close enough that only she could hear his words. I'm not brave like you. I'm not strong enough to face London's judgment alone. But if you'll have me, if you can forgive me for being a coward who tried to protect you by pushing you away, I'll spend the rest of my life proving that my feelings were never manipulation. They were always, always real. Penelope stared at him, her heart hammering so loudly she was sure the entire gallery could hear it. Your Grace, she said formally, but her eyes were soft. You're about to cause the scandal of the season. I know, he admitted with a smile. Cordelia Ashcroft will destroy you. She can try. He scoffed. Society will never accept us. Sebastian's eyes hardened. Then society can go to hell. And in front of London's elite, in a gallery full of witnesses, Sebastian Rothwell took Penelope Hartley's hand and said loudly enough for everyone to hear, "This woman is the most talented perfumer in England. And I'm the fool who fell in love with her through anonymous letters because I was too afraid to love her in person. If that makes me scandalous, then so be it." The gallery erupted into chaos. But before anyone could react further, the doors slammed open again, and Lady Cordelia Ashcroft swept in like an avenging angel, her face twisted with rage. "How dare you?" she hissed at Sebastian. "You've ruined Elizabeth. Ruined yourself. And for what? A common shop girl." Sebastian didn't flinch. "You mean for the woman I love. And if you have a problem with that, madam, you're welcome to try your worst." Cordelia's smile was pure malice. "Oh, I will. Starting with the fact that your precious perfumer's debt. I bought it last week from your man of business. Funny what people will sell when offered enough money. So here's what's going to happen. You'll apologize publicly, court Elizabeth properly, and marry her by season's end. Or I'll seize Miss Hartley's shop tomorrow morning and throw her into the debtor's prison. Choose wisely, Your Grace. Your happiness or hers." The silence in the gallery was absolute. Every eye fixed on Sebastian and Penelope, waiting to see if love or duty would win. Cordelia's smile widened with each passing second of Sebastian's hesitation. But it was Penelope who spoke first. "No." The single word rang out like a gunshot. Cordelia's head snapped toward her. "Excuse me. I said no." Penelope stepped forward, her fear transmuting into something fiercer. "You want to throw me in the debtor's prison? Do it. Seize my shop. Take it. But you will not use me as a weapon against him. Not anymore." "How noble," Cordelia sneered. "But when you're rotting in Marshalsea, your nobility won't keep you warm." "Perhaps not. But I'll still have something you've never had, my integrity." Penelope turned to Sebastian, her voice softening. "You need to let me go. Court Elizabeth. Marry properly. Save your reputation." "Absolutely not." "Sebastian, she'll destroy you." "Then let her. I've spent 30 years being the perfect duke, making the perfect choices, living the perfect lie. And I was miserable every single day until I wrote you that first letter. You think I'm going to give that up? Give you up? To save my reputation?" He laughed, and it was wild and free. "My reputation can burn for all I care. I choose you." "How touching," Cordelia said acidly. "But the choice isn't yours. I own her debt. Tomorrow morning, the bailiffs arrive. Unless nothing." Charlotte Pemberton's voice cut through the tension like a blade. She stepped forward, holding a document. "I'm sorry, Lady Cordelia, but you don't own Miss Hartley's debt. I do. I bought it this morning from your broker. Turns out he's quite fond of me, and when I explained what you were planning, he was happy to sell it to me instead. For twice what you paid." Cordelia's face went scarlet. That's impossible. Is it? Perhaps you should verify your purchases more carefully before making dramatic threats. The debt is marked paid in full. Miss Hartley owes nothing to anyone. Charlotte handed the document to Penelope with a triumphant smile. Consider it a wedding gift. Or a friendship gift. Whichever comes first. The crowd erupted into excited whispers. Cordelia looked like she might spontaneously combust. You stupid girl. Do you have any idea what you've done? I'll ruin you. With what? Charlotte's voice was steel wrapped in silk. My father owns half the buildings in Mayfair. My mother's family has connections to the crown. And unlike you, Lady Cordelia, we don't rule through fear and blackmail. So please, do try to ruin me. I'm curious to see how that works out for you. Cordelia's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. She looked around the gallery, seeing in every face the same calculation. The Ashcrofts had power, but the Pembertons had more. And Charlotte had just publicly allied herself with Penelope and Sebastian. This isn't over, Cordelia finally hissed. You think you've won. You've just made an enemy who never forgets. Cordelia swept from the gallery, dragging a weeping Elizabeth behind her. The moment they left, the gallery erupted into chaos, everyone talking at once, society matrons clutching their pearls, critics scribbling furiously, and in the center of it all, Sebastian and Penelope staring at each other like the rest of the world had ceased to exist. You chose me, Penelope whispered. I'll always choose you. Sebastian said with a genuine smile. Even though society will never accept us. Even though half of London thinks I'm a fortune hunter who trapped you. Let them think whatever they want. I know the truth. I'm the one who trapped you. With letters and lies, and clumsy attempts at romance. He took her hands gently. Penelope Hartley, I've made a catastrophic mess of courting you. I've lied, manipulated, and nearly destroyed what we had through sheer cowardice. But if you give me a chance, I'll spend the rest of my life learning to be brave enough to deserve you. That was almost romantic, Penelope said, tears streaming down her face. Except for the part where you're still convinced you don't deserve me. Sebastian, you brilliant idiot. We deserve each other. Both of us are stubborn, both scared of being vulnerable, both absolutely terrible at asking for help. We're a disaster. A perfectly matched disaster, he asked with a grin. The very best kind, she smiled. Right then and there, Sebastian kissed her, in front of all of London society, and the scandal sheets would talk about it for months. But neither of them cared, because they'd found something more valuable than reputation. They'd found someone willing to brave the storm beside them. The exhibition was a triumph. Every bottle of correspondence sold within an hour, with orders for 50 more. Critics called it revolutionary. Society matrons who'd never set foot in Clerkenwell suddenly wanted consultations. And through it all, Sebastian stood beside Penelope, publicly claiming her as his, consequence be damned. But consequences came anyway, swift and vicious. The next morning, every scandal sheet in London featured the same story. Duke's perfume girl, fortune hunter extraordinaire. The articles were poison, claiming Penelope had orchestrated everything. The letters, the chance encounters, even her shop's near failure, all to trap London's wealthiest bachelor. Listen to this, Charlotte read aloud over breakfast at Penelope's shop, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Sources close to Lady Cordelia Ashcroft reveal that Miss Hartley has been planning this seduction for months, using her feminine wiles and cheap perfumes to ensnare the innocent Duke. Innocent? As if Sebastian isn't the one who started this whole thing. Penelope stared at the newspapers covering her workbench, each one more vicious than the last. They're going to destroy me. Penelope sighed in defeat. No, they won't, my love, Sebastian said from the doorway. He'd arrived at dawn and hadn't left since, determined to face the scandal beside her. We'll weather this. Will we? Your godmother sent 3 letters this morning demanding you end this madness. Your man of business says your investments are suffering because partners don't want to associate with a duke who's lost his mind over a shopgirl, and her voice broke, I can't even walk down my own street without people whispering. Then we leave London. Sebastian declared loudly. Both women stared at him. Leave. Penelope repeated. Why not? I have estates across England. We could go to Cornwall, to the coast. You could build a proper workshop, experiment without society watching your every move. We could run away, Penelope finished flatly. That's your solution. Run away. It's not running away, it's strategic retreat. It's cowardice. She stood abruptly, sending newspapers flying. You said you'd face this with me, that we'd brave the storm together. And at the first real test, you want to flee to Cornwall. I'm trying to protect you. I don't need protection. I need a partner. Someone who'll stand beside me and fight, not someone who'll hide me away in the countryside like a shameful secret. Sebastian recoiled as if struck. That's not what I'm doing. Isn't it? You're so busy trying to save me that you don't see I don't want to be saved. I want to prove them wrong. I want to build something so undeniable, so magnificent, that London has no choice but to acknowledge my talent isn't some trick to trap you. But I can't do that if you're constantly trying to protect me from every harsh word and cruel whisper. The silence stretched between them, heavy with unspoken fears. Charlotte quietly excused herself, leaving them alone in the wreckage of newspapers and hurt feelings. I don't know how to do this, Sebastian finally admitted, his voice raw. I don't know how to be with you without trying to fix everything, control everything, ensure you're safe from every threat. It's all I know, managing situations, solving problems with money and influence. But you're not a problem to solve, yet I keep treating you like one. Penelope's anger softened. And I keep pushing you away every time you try to help, because I'm terrified that accepting help means I'm weak. That my success isn't really mine if someone assists me. She moved closer. We're both broken in complementary ways, aren't we? Magnificently broken, he let out a short laugh. So what do? We learn, Sebastian said simply. I learn to trust your strength. You learn to accept help without seeing it as weakness. And we both learn that partnership means facing things together, not protecting each other from life itself. Penelope nodded slowly. No more running to Cornwall. No more running. We stay in London, face the scandal, and show them that our love isn't some calculated scheme. It's just two lonely people who found each other through letters and refused to let society's judgment destroy what we'd built. That's going to take time, and patience, and probably more scandal. That's okay, I have time. And as for scandal, he grinned suddenly, I've discovered I'm quite good at scandal. It's refreshing, really. 30 years of being perfect, and now I get to be perfectly scandalous instead. Their laughter was interrupted by a sharp knock. Charlotte burst back in, her face flushed with excitement. You need to see this. Now. She thrust a newspaper at them, not a scandal sheet, but the Times. On the front page, a lengthy editorial titled In Defense of Miss Hartley. Sebastian read aloud, his voice growing stronger with each word. This editor has watched with dismay as London society tears apart a young woman whose only crime was being talented enough to attract the Duke of Ashmont's notice. We have sampled Miss Hartley's perfumes. We have investigated her background. And we can state with confidence that she is precisely what she claims, a skilled perfumer building on her mother's legacy. If the Duke has chosen to court her, perhaps that speaks more to his good taste than to her scheming nature. London's elite would do well to remember that cruelty toward those of lower stations reflects poorly on the perpetrators, not the victims. Who wrote this? Penelope breathed. Charlotte's smile was triumphant. Lord Pemberton. My father. He's one of the Times' major investors, and he was furious about the scandal sheet's treatment of you. This is just the beginning. He's calling in favors from every influential family who owes him. By tomorrow, half of London's newspapers will be defending you. Why would he do that? Because I asked him to. And also because he believes in love that defies convention. He married my mother despite her being a merchant's daughter, and society nearly destroyed them for it. But they survived, built influence, and now they're using that influence to help others do the same. Charlotte gripped Penelope's hands. You're not alone in this. You have allies you don't even know about. The words hit Penelope like a revelation. She'd been so focused on surviving alone, on proving herself without help, that she'd missed the army of supporters gathering around her. Charlotte, Lord Pemberton, the clients who'd commissioned her work, the critics who praised her talent. Even some members of society who were tired of Cordelia's vicious manipulations. She wasn't alone. She'd never been alone. That realization changed everything. Over the next week, the tide began to turn. More newspapers published defenses. Society matrons who'd scorned Penelope suddenly remembered commissioning perfumes from her. Influential families made a point of visiting her shop, proving their support publicly. And Sebastian appeared at her side for all of it, making it clear this wasn't a scandal he was trying to escape. It was a partnership he was proud to claim. But Cordelia Ashcroft wasn't finished. She'd been humiliated publicly, lost her grip on Sebastian, and watched her social standing crumble. And cornered predators were always more dangerous. The attack came during a society ball that Sebastian had insisted they attend together, a public declaration that he wasn't ashamed of courting Penelope. They'd barely entered the ballroom when Cordelia materialized like a vengeful spirit. "How brave of you to show your face, Miss Hartley," she said loudly enough for nearby guests to hear. "Tell me, do you charge the Duke your usual rates? Or does he get a discount for buying in bulk?" The implication was clear and vicious. Penelope felt Sebastian tense beside her, ready to defend her honor. But she touched his arm gently, stopping him. "Lady Cordelia," she said clearly, "I charge all my clients fairly for the art I create. Though I confess, creating anything for you would be impossible. There's no perfume that can mask the scent of desperation and declined relevance." Gasps rippled through the nearby crowd. Cordelia's face turned purple. "You insolent little—" "Careful, madam," Sebastian interrupted coldly. "Insult my future Duchess again, and you'll find yourself cut from every guest list in London. Not by me, but by the dozens of families tired of your poisonous presence at their events." Future Duchess. He'd said it publicly, and proudly. The whispers exploded into excited chatter. Cordelia looked around wildly, seeing her power evaporate in real time. Families she'd terrorized for years suddenly found the courage to turn their backs, literally. Within moments, she stood alone in a circle of rejection. "This isn't over," she hissed, but the words rang hollow. She'd lost, and everyone knew it. As Cordelia fled the ballroom, Sebastian turned to Penelope with a nervous smile. "I should have asked first, before calling you my future Duchess. But the words came out, and I realized, I don't want a future where you're not my Duchess. Where you're not my wife, my partner, my home. Penelope Hartley, will you marry me? In front of all these witnesses, with no more secrets, no more games. Just you and me and the terrifying adventure of building a life together." Penelope looked around the ballroom, at the shocked faces, the calculating matrons, the scandal-hungry observers. A month ago, this public proposal would have terrified her. But now, with Sebastian's hand in hers and allies surrounding them, it felt like exactly what she needed. "Yes," she said clearly, "on one condition. Anything. We create our wedding scent together. Equal partners, equal creators. I don't want a perfume made by the Duke's pet perfumer. I want one made by two people who understand that creation is better when it's shared." Sebastian's smile could have lit London. Equal partners. Always. He kissed her then and there, and the ballroom erupted into applause and excited chatter. The scandal of the season had just become the romance of the year, and London society would talk about nothing else for months. But neither of them heard the noise. Because in that moment, surrounded by witnesses and chaos and the uncertain future, they'd found something both had been searching for their entire lives. Someone brave enough to be vulnerable, strong enough to accept help, and foolish enough to believe that love could survive anything if you faced it together. The scandal wasn't over. The challenges weren't finished. But Penelope and Sebastian had learned the most important lesson. They didn't have to face the storms alone anymore. They had each other, and that made all the difference. 3 months later, they stood in Sebastian's private conservatory, the secret garden he'd built for a woman he loved through letters. The wedding was small, intimate, filled with real friends instead of obligation invitations. Charlotte stood as maid of honor, beaming with pride. Lord Pemberton walked Penelope down the aisle, the father figure who'd believed in her talent and defended her honor. But the most remarkable thing was the scent filling the conservatory, the wedding perfume they'd created together. Constant, they'd named it, a fragrance that smelled different on everyone who wore it, adapting to each person's unique chemistry. Just like their love had adapted, evolved, survived everything London had thrown at them. As Sebastian slipped the ring onto Penelope's finger, he whispered words only she could hear. "Thank you for teaching me that being vulnerable isn't weakness. That accepting help isn't failure. And that love requires courage. Thank you for teaching me that I don't have to face everything alone," she whispered back. "That partnership means sharing both the triumphs and the struggles. And that together is stronger than apart." They kissed as husband and wife, and in that moment, both understood that their story hadn't been about a duke and a perfumer falling in love. It had been about two people learning that true strength comes from trusting someone else with your weaknesses, your fears, your authentic self. The journey from letters to forever hadn't been easy, but nothing worth having ever is. Unfortunately, the fairy tale endings in London society were never quite as simple as saying "I do." As Penelope and Sebastian left the conservatory, hand in hand and legally bound, they walked directly into their first test as husband and wife. A messenger waited at the entrance, his face grim. "Your Grace, there's been an incident at Miss Hartley's. Forgive me, Her Grace's shop. A fire." Penelope's blood turned to ice. "How bad?" "The authorities believe it was deliberately set. The shop is destroyed." They raced across London in Sebastian's carriage, Penelope's wedding dress gathering soot as they ran through the smoking ruins of Hartley and Daughter. Everything was gone. Her mother's recipes, her workbench, years of carefully collected ingredients, the place where she'd first received Sebastian's letters. Reduced to ash and bitter memory. "Cordelia," Sebastian said flatly, surveying the damage. "This has her fingerprints all over it." But the constable shook his head. "Begging your pardon, Your Grace, but we've already investigated Lady Ashcroft. She was at a dinner party with 40 witnesses when the fire started. It couldn't have been her." "Then who?" Penelope's voice was barely a whisper. The answer came 3 days later when Elizabeth Ashcroft appeared at Sebastian's townhouse, her face blotchy from crying, a confession tumbling from her lips like poison finally purged. "I did it. I set the fire. Not Mother, me." Elizabeth's voice shook. "For years, she told me I'd be a duchess, that I was destined for greatness, that my beauty and breeding made me worthy of the finest match in England. And then you," she looked at Penelope with something between hatred and desperate envy. "You showed up. Common, poor, nothing special. Except you actually were special. Special enough that he chose you over everything society said he should want. And I couldn't bear it. Couldn't bear that my mother was wrong, that everything I'd been promised was a lie. So you tried to destroy me," Penelope finished quietly. "I tried to erase you. If the shop was gone, if your livelihood was destroyed, then maybe he'd realize his mistake. Maybe." Elizabeth dissolved into sobs. "But it doesn't matter, does it? You still won. You'll always win because you have something I never will. You're real. I'm just a doll my mother dressed up and paraded around, hoping someone would buy me." The confession was heartbreaking and infuriating in equal measure. Penelope should hate this girl who destroyed her mother's legacy. But looking at Elizabeth's tear-stained face, she saw only another victim of Cordelia's machinations. "You'll turn yourself in to the authorities," Sebastian said firmly. "Face the consequences of what you've done." "I know. I came here first because..." Elizabeth looked at Penelope directly for the first time. "I'm sorry. It won't fix anything, but I'm sorry." After Elizabeth left with the constables, Penelope stood in the ruins of her wedding day, staring at her soot-covered dress. "Everything I built, everything my mother left me, gone." "Not everything," Sebastian said softly. "You still have your knowledge, your talent, your ability to create beauty from nothing. The shop was important, but it wasn't you, Penelope. You are the legacy, not the building. Easy for you to say, you didn't lose everything. Don't be so sure about that." His voice held an edge. "I lost the illusion that loving you would be simple, that once we married, the challenges would stop. But I'm just now realizing that choosing you means choosing to fight beside you for the rest of our lives. And he paused, vulnerability naked on his face. "I'm terrified I'm not strong enough for that." Penelope turned to him slowly. "You're the Duke of Ashmont. You're the strongest person I know." "No, I'm someone who spent his whole life using money and influence to avoid real fights. But you can't throw money at a burned shop and make the loss disappear. You can't use influence to erase your pain. I don't know how to help you through this without trying to fix it, and I know fixing it isn't what you need right now." The honesty in his words cracked something open in Penelope's chest. Because he was right, she didn't need him to fix this. She simply needed him to be present while she grieved. "Hold me," she whispered. "Don't solve it, don't plan our next steps, don't try to make it better. Just hold me while I fall apart." And so he did. In the middle of their destroyed wedding week, surrounded by ash and disappointment, Sebastian held his wife while she cried for everything she'd lost. And in holding her without trying to fix her, he learned the hardest lesson of love. Sometimes strength means doing nothing but bearing witness to someone else's pain. The weeks that followed were brutal. Elizabeth was arrested and faced charges for arson. Cordelia, in a desperate attempt to save her daughter, tried to pin the blame on Penelope herself, claiming it was an insurance scheme. The scandal erupted again, worse than before. But this time, Penelope and Sebastian faced it differently. No grand gestures, no public spectacles. Just quiet, consistent partnership. Sebastian stood beside her at every hearing, every interview, every moment when society vultures circled. And Penelope let him, understanding finally that accepting support wasn't weakness, it was wisdom. Charlotte organized a fundraising effort to rebuild the shop, and the response shocked everyone. Clients who'd commissioned Penelope's work donated generously. Critics who'd praised her talent contributed. Even some society families, tired of Cordelia's poison and impressed by Penelope's grace under fire, sent anonymous donations. Within 2 months, they'd raised enough not just to rebuild, but to expand. A proper workshop, a training studio for apprentices, storage for rare ingredients. Hartley and daughter would rise from the ashes better than before. But Penelope insisted on one change to the name. The new sign read, Hartley and Rothwell, perfumers. Partners, she explained to Sebastian as they unveiled it. Equal creators. Just like we promised. The shop's reopening became London's most talked about event. Not because of scandal this time, but because Penelope unveiled something extraordinary, a collection of perfumes called Phoenix, each one inspired by rising from destruction. The scents were complex, layered, uncompromising. They smelled like survival, like courage, like refusing to let cruelty extinguish your fire. And they were brilliant. London's perfume houses tried to dismiss them as emotional gimmicks, but clients didn't care about industry politics. They cared that wearing Phoenix made them feel powerful, transformed, capable of surviving their own fires. Within weeks, Penelope couldn't keep the bottles in stock. The success was vindication, but more than that, it was proof. Proof that her talent truly was undeniable. Proof that she'd survived everything London threw at her and emerged stronger. Proof that sometimes the best revenge against those who try to destroy you is simply refusing to stay destroyed. 6 months after their chaotic wedding, Penelope and Sebastian hosted a ball at Ashmont House. Not a society obligation, but a celebration of the perfumers and artists and creators who'd supported Penelope when society turned its back. The guest list was scandalous by aristocratic standards. Tradespeople mixed with titles, artists chatted with duchesses, and nobody cared about bloodlines or breeding. Cordelia Ashcroft wasn't invited, though she appeared anyway, demanding entrance with her usual imperious entitlement. Sebastian personally turned her away at the door. "You've lost, Cordelia," he said without answer. "And it's not even because we destroyed you, but because you destroyed yourself. Every cruel word, every manipulation, every attempt to control people through fear, it all caught up with you. Society isn't afraid of you anymore. They're just tired of you." Cordelia's face contorted with rage and something else. Possibly the dawning realization that her power had always been an illusion, maintained only as long as people believed in it. "You'll regret this. Both of you." "Perhaps," Sebastian said calmly. "But we'll regret it together, which somehow makes it bearable. Can't say the same for you, though." After Cordelia left, Sebastian found Penelope on the terrace, staring at the garden where they'd held their wedding. She'd been quiet all evening, and he recognized the signs of her retreating into her own thoughts. "Talk to me," he said softly. She let out a sigh. "I've been thinking about that first letter you sent me. The riddle about forgotten queens sleeping beneath glass. I thought I was solving a puzzle, but really, you were telling me your truth from the very beginning. You were the forgotten one, sleeping beneath the glass of expectations and title. And I was supposed to wake you up. You did wake me up. You taught me that life is meant to be lived, not perfectly curated. But I'm still scared," Penelope admitted. "Scared that one day you'll regret choosing me. That you'll wake up and realize what you gave up. The easy life, the suitable duchess, the simple path society laid out for you." Sebastian pulled her close, and in his embrace, she felt his heartbeat match hers. "Penelope, the day I wrote that first letter was the first day I'd felt alive in years. Every moment since then, every challenge, every scandal, every impossible choice, has been more real than 30 years of perfect behavior and suitable decisions. I didn't give up the easy path for you. I escaped to prison and found freedom. With you. Before you find out what happens next, I need you to do something for me. If this story has moved you, if these characters feel real, if you've been on this emotional journey with Penelope and Sebastian, please hit that like button and leave a comment telling me what you think. Your support means everything, and it helps me create more stories like this one. Now, let's see how this tale truly ends." The moment was interrupted by Charlotte rushing onto the terrace, her face flushed with excitement. "Penelope, you need to see this, now." Inside, a messenger had arrived with an official-looking envelope. Penelope broke the seal with trembling hands and read aloud. "Miss Penelope Hartley Rothwell, Her Grace the Duchess of Ashmont, is hereby invited to present her perfumes at the Royal Exhibition of British Excellence. By order of Her Majesty the Queen. The room fell silent. The Royal Exhibition was the highest honor a craftsperson could receive. Recognition that their work represented the finest British artistry. For a self-taught perfumer who'd been dismissed as a shopgirl just months ago, it was unprecedented. "This is because of you," Penelope said to Sebastian, her voice thick with emotion. "Your influence." "Actually, this is not Sebastian's doing," Charlotte interrupted firmly. "This is because the Queen's lady-in-waiting wore Phoenix to a state dinner and was mobbed with questions about it. It's because your talent is undeniable, and you've proven that brilliance doesn't require the right bloodline or proper training. Just vision, courage, and stubborn refusal to accept limitations." Penelope looked around the ballroom, at the people who'd believed in her, fought for her, refused to let London's cruelty extinguish her light. She looked at Sebastian, whose clumsy letters had started everything. At Charlotte, whose friendship had saved her. At the path she'd walked from struggling shopgirl to respected artisan. "I need to visit the shop," she said suddenly. "Right now." Sebastian didn't question, just offered his arm. They left the ball, walking through London streets to Clerkenwell, and stood before Hartley and Rothwell in the moonlight. "This is where it started," Penelope said softly. "Where I found your first letter. Where I was drowning in debt and desperation. Where I thought my mother's legacy would die with me. And now." Sebastian probed calmly. "Now I understand what she was trying to teach me all along. Legacy isn't a building or a business. It's the courage to create beauty even when the world says you shouldn't. It's the audacity to love someone everyone claims is wrong for you. It's surviving the fires and choosing to bloom anyway." She turned to Sebastian. "You asked me once what question Jasmine was asking. I think I finally know the answer." "What question?" he asked. "Will you be brave enough to bloom in the darkness? To create beauty when no one's watching? To love without guarantee of safety?" She smiled. And I answered yes. Every day, I answer yes. Sebastian kissed her then, not with passion but with reverence, the kiss of someone who'd found home in another person. "I have something for you. I meant to give it to you earlier, but..." He pulled out a small wrapped package. Inside was a leather journal, its pages blank and waiting. "I thought you might want to document your formulas, your experiments, your journey. So when our daughters ask how their mother became the finest perfumer in England, you'll have the story ready." "Our daughters?" Penelope's voice caught. "Or sons. Or both. Or none, if that's what we choose. But whatever our future holds, I want you to document it. Because your story deserves to be remembered, not as the Duke's scandalous bride, but as Penelope Hartley, who taught London that talent and courage matter more than breeding and expectation." Penelope clutched the journal to her chest, overwhelmed by the gift's simple perfection. Not expensive ingredients or grand gestures, but space to tell her own story in her own words. "I love you," she said. "Not because you're the Duke of Ashmont or because you saved my shop or even because you opened doors. I love you because you saw me when I was invisible. Because you were brave enough to be vulnerable. Because you chose me every day, even when choosing me was hard." "Especially when choosing you was hard," Sebastian corrected gently. "Easy love isn't actual love. It's just convenience dressed up as devotion." They stood there in the moonlight, two people who'd found each other through letters and refused to let scandal, society, or their own fears destroy what they'd built. The path ahead wouldn't be simple. They'd face more challenges, more judgment, more moments of doubt. But they'd face it together, and that made all the difference. 1 year later, Penelope stood in the Royal Exhibition, presenting her perfumes to crowds who'd once dismissed her as nothing. Sebastian stood in the audience, watching his wife shine with pride that had nothing to do with his title and everything to do with her brilliance. Cordelia Ashcroft had fled London after losing her social standing, her influence, and her power to terrorize. Elizabeth had served her sentence and, surprisingly, written to Penelope asking to apprentice at the shop after her release. "I want to learn who I am without my mother's voice in my head," she'd written. Penelope had agreed, understanding that sometimes redemption requires giving people chances they don't deserve. Charlotte had married for love herself, scandalizing society by choosing a playwright over a title. She and Penelope met weekly to laugh about how they'd both escaped the cages society built for women. And Sebastian had discovered that being married to Penelope meant constant surprise, occasional chaos, and the deep satisfaction of partnership with someone who challenged him to be better than comfortable. Their life together wasn't the perfect aristocratic union London expected, but it was real and honest, and most importantly, it was theirs. As Penelope finished her presentation to thunderous applause, she caught Sebastian's eye across the room. He smiled, and in that smile she saw everything they'd survived. The letters, the lies, the fires both literal and metaphorical. The journey from anonymous correspondence to public partnership. That night, back at Ashmont House, they sat in the conservatory that had witnessed their wedding, surrounded by flowers that bloomed in darkness. Penelope opened her journal and began to write. Once upon a time, a lonely perfumer received a letter that would change her life. Not because it promised rescue or offered solutions, but because it reminded her that she wasn't alone in her loneliness. That somewhere in London's vast indifference, another soul understood what it meant to be trapped. Her by poverty and grief, him by privilege and expectation. This is the story of how two people found each other in the space between words, loved each other through scandal and fire, and built a partnership that society said was impossible. This is the story of falling in love with a secret admirer, never imagining he was London's most sought-after duke. But more than that, this is the story of learning that love isn't about one person saving another. It's about two people brave enough to save themselves, together. She looked up at Sebastian, who was reading over her shoulder. Too sentimental. It's absolutely perfect, he grinned, wrapping his arms around her. Though you left out the part where I was a cowardly idiot who nearly destroyed everything. Oh, don't worry, I'm saving that for chapter 2. They laughed then, the easy laughter of people who'd earned their happiness through fire and fight and refusing to give up on each other. Outside, London continued its endless dance of scandal and society. But inside the conservatory, surrounded by impossible flowers and possible love, Penelope and Sebastian had found something more valuable than reputation or status. They'd found home in each other. And sometimes, that's the only happy ending that matters. The journal's first page bore a dedication in Penelope's careful script. For everyone who's ever loved the wrong person by society's standards and discovered they were exactly right by their own. For everyone who's bloomed in darkness. For everyone who's answered yes to the impossible. This story is for you. And it was. A story of letters and loneliness, scandal and survival, and love that refused to be anything other than real. The kind of story London would remember long after the gossip faded and the scandal sheets yellowed. The kind of story that proved, once and for all, that the most extraordinary romances begin not with perfect circumstances, but with imperfect people brave enough to try. The end. Did Penelope and Sebastian's journey captivate you? Then like this video, subscribe for more breathtaking historical romance stories, and comment with your favorite moment. Was it the secret letters? The devastating betrayal? Or the triumphant ending? I want to know what made your heart soar. Share this story with someone who believes in love that defies the odds. And remember, the best love stories aren't about perfection. They're about choosing each other again and again, no matter what storms come. See you in the next story.